In this module, we'll anchor our architecture in a concrete banking problem, letting customers open an account and sign the contract entirely online. We'll look at why the business wants this, who cares about the outcome, and which specific requirements eIDAS introduces. Now that you've got the eIDAS foundations, we'll follow a simple path through our banking use case. We'll start with the business context, why the bank cares, what regulators expect, and which risks we're trying to control. That turns vague ambitions into concrete requirements. From there, we'll translate those requirements into user journeys and finally into a high-level architecture that makes clear which components and trust services are actually needed. Remote onboarding means bringing a new customer into the bank without ever meeting them in person. The customer starts an application from home, usually on web or mobile. The bank then has to verify who they are, for example using an eIDAS recognized identity method. Once identity and checks are complete, the customer signs the contract with a qualified electronic signature. The bank then stores all the evidence and activates the new account. To keep this use case manageable, we'll frame it deliberately narrowly. We focus on two channels, a web portal and a native mobile app. That's enough to expose the key architectural questions without drowning in edge cases. We assume 1 or 2 EU countries at the start, but we design from day one so the same pattern can scale EU-wide. And we limit products to simple retail current and savings accounts, not complex lending. A core discipline in any eIDAS solution is drawing a hard line around scope. Here, we focus on 3 elements only: digital identity proofing, the qualified electronic signature, and storing the evidence that proves what happened. We deliberately set aside core banking ledgers, full fraud platforms, and everything that happens after onboarding is complete. This narrow scope keeps the design teachable and mirrors how real projects are typically framed. For this use case, picture 2 motivations that need to meet in the middle. The customer wants a smooth, fast experience from their sofa, minimal data reentry, clear trust signals, and confidence their identity and money are safe. The bank wants more customers successfully onboarded across more markets, with processes that scale without exploding manual effort or compliance risk. Good eIDAS architecture has to balance both sides. Different stakeholders come with different concerns. IT and security teams focus on how this solution plugs into existing systems, how much control they retain over vendors, and how customer data is actually protected. Regulators and QTSPs approach it from another angle. They care whether onboarding and signing flows truly meet eIDAS requirements, align with AML and KYC rules, and limit legal exposure when something goes wrong. Your architecture must satisfy both perspectives at the same time. When you design an eIDAS solution, think of an architectural blueprint that balances 6 forces. User experience should feel almost frictionless, but security still has to deliver strong authentication. Speed to market pushes you towards quick rollout, while compliance demands legal rigor and traceability. Cost predictability means controlling vendors and avoiding lock-in, while flexibility asks you to design for future evolution. Strong architecture makes these tensions explicit and chooses patterns that keep them in healthy balance. eIDAS is our first big pillar. It gives qualified electronic signatures the same legal power as a handwritten signature and guarantees that a qualified signature created in one EU country is recognized in all the others. To make this trustworthy, eIDAS relies on regulated qualified trust service providers who securely manage certificates and remote signing. The second pillar is AML and KYC, where our eIDAS-based onboarding meets financial crime regulation. We must prove who the customer is with strong identity proofing, then apply sector and country-specific rules, and finally assess risk. That way, the bank can block money laundering and terrorism financing while still allowing smooth onboarding. For an eIDAS-based onboarding journey, 3 risk vectors really shape the architecture. Identity fraud is about getting a fake or stolen person into the system right at the start. Account takeover is about hijacking an already onboarded, genuine customer through compromised credentials or devices. Quest abuse is different. The identity is real, but the person is tricked, coerced, or bypassed when a qualified signature is triggered. Each vector demands specific controls, evidence, and monitoring. Always think in pairs. Risk on one side, control on the other. To reduce identity fraud, you raise the assurance of onboarding, for example by using eIDAS, high identity proofing. To limit account takeover, you protect every sensitive step with strong customer authentication. And to prevent abuse of qualified e-signatures, you rely on QTSP-issued certificates plus cryptographic evidence that can stand up in court years later. Now let's turn this into 4 collaborating engines. First, identity proofing captures documents or eID data and verifies the person to the right assurance level. Next, the onboarding engine uses those verified attributes to open the account and generate the contract. Then, the QES orchestration layer drives the signing ceremony with the QTSP and captures explicit consent. Finally, evidence and decision storage keeps a tamper-resistant record that ties identity, contract, and signature together. At this point, you can see the whole solution as 4 business capabilities sitting on a strong non-functional foundation. Identity proofing, onboarding, qualified signing, and evidence storage are the capabilities the business cares about. Security, availability, usability, and scalability are what keep those capabilities trustworthy in production. As an architect, you design both layers together, so every feature is backed by clear, testable, non-functional requirements. We've now connected the regulatory and risk drivers to a concrete architectural blueprint. In the next module, we'll turn that blueprint into real user journeys and screens, so you can see how compliant eIDAS onboarding actually feels from a customer's point of view.